Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast for quilters who are building a business while juggling real life.
I'm Tori from Hey Tori, a quilter, past pattern designer and teacher, and now a digital marketing coach for quilting entrepreneurs.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts, long arm quilter, pattern designer, and quilting instructor.
Between the two of us, we've taught workshops, launched programs, joined summits, and stayed up way too late trying to finish one more quilt binding.
On this show, we're sharing what's worked and what hasn't in our interviews from incredible guests, everyone from quilting solo business owners to CEOs.
So if you're running a quilting or creative business or dreaming about starting one, you'll find real talk, honest strategies, and a whole lot of support here.
So grab your notebook, grab your pen, and let's dive into another episode of Quilting on the Side. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad that you are joining us for this amazing celebration of 75 episodes of the Quilting on the Side podcast. Tori, did you have any expectation for how long this would run?
I didn't. I was hoping we would go for, I think our first initial goal was a year, right?
Probably, yeah. And I think it's just the power of perseverance that both you and I think, are too stubborn to give up. So we just keep doing it and it grows. And that's the fun part is seeing all these connections that are being made, meeting all these amazing quilters out there and hearing their stories. It's just been really, really fun. So, tell us some of your favorite parts of this 75 episode journey that we're on.
Yeah, let me see. I wrote down quite a few because we wanted to celebrate 75 episodes and talk about all the things we've learned over the last publishing 75 episodes. So I've got, let me see, a couple of things that I personally learned is that I really like sharing the oopses? I don't know. The overly edited podcasting style bothers me. I think it takes out the human of it because I'm one who loves to like listen in on conversations and things like that. And when you take out like the little pauses, not the long ones make sense to take out, but like the little pauses, the little ums every once in a while. Some of those are fine to edit out, but like I like when we trip over our words and we're human. And that I like listening to podcasts that way. So that's something that I learned about myself, and the way that I would prefer a podcast to be is a little more on the human side of things. Um, I call that a positive because that's something I learned.
Yeah, exactly. And we're hearing from a lot of marketing experts that in this age of AI, you really do need those human touches and that people know these are real people just having a conversation, trying to share their own perspective. And thanks to our wonderful audience, it's keeping us going. So, yeah,
Very
what else
true.
has been a positive lesson learned?
Let's see. Showing up imperfectly is better. Um, than not showing up at all. And like my appearance is not a big deal. Like I show up for the podcast recordings because we record sometimes at 9 o'clock at night and I've got like bags under my eyes and I'm like, I'm here. But showing up consistently is, I feel like it's a testament to our perseverance, as you said, but also our push forward. There's a word for that. There's our grit maybe to
Uh,
make this work and to really connect with our audience. And I feel like that's a big positive for both of us to show how dedicated we are to creating this as a resource and as a community, and not caring so much about what I look like because it's hard when you're doing video, because when we're recording this podcast we're on video, so we're watching ourselves like talk, we're watching ourselves sitting there like slowly drooping down as the hour trips on, and like we're watching ourselves react to our audience, our guests, right? And it's like, not worrying so much about what my face is doing and worrying about what I'm wearing as much. Like, I wanna make sure I look clean at least. I'm not gonna wear, like, pajamas for a podcast recording, but or at least I'm going to pajamas. But that's something I've learned to let go of, and I think that's really positive because it allows me to free up my mind. It allows me to relax a little more and to concentrate in the moment than worrying about what I look like.
Yeah,
And then it helps
yeah,
me stay
and as
busy.
people are watching this, they will see I was, stressing out a little bit about these funky shadows that my glasses make on my camera. I still haven't figured out perfect lighting in my home for all this video that I do. But like you said, just showing up. We're all human, we all have imperfections. We don't really need that super polished, over edited version. This is real life. I think we both have that teacherness of, here, let me share my story and help you get to where you want to be. Um, and encouraging all those new quilters that want to try this as a business has been really, really fun. And we learn things along the way. We want to be cheerleaders for you. So, yeah, just still gobsmacked that 27,000 people or times people have chosen to listen into our conversation. So that's really cool.
Yeah, 27,000 downloads. That's insane. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, I always try to put things in perspective when I hear that, sometimes our episodes only get about 25 or 30 downloads on YouTube. And I'm like, but that's a full classroom. When I was teaching, having 30 students was a big deal. And, 25,000 is a good size, audience in a basketball arena. So, you can
Yeah.
make those comparisons. So we're just thrilled that so many people have found value in what we're doing. So, and that is the easy part, is just talking to you, talking to our guests and hearing their stories. That's been really, really fun. So we've had a lot of fun hearing from other quilters and their stories. What other positive things have you found from the podcast?
Well, what you said about real stories, like, we have been showing up on this podcast sharing not perfect stories, but real ones. So things that are not working, things that are working, things that we've tried that sometimes work, um, and things that, like, especially the launch episode. It's one of our most popular ones where we have the tale of the two launches, where we have one launch that went really well and Andy's launch that did not go so well. And we shared what the real life things that happen, and they're real stories and they're not perfect advice. So we don't always show up and are able to answer all these questions about what does like a perfect launch look like. There is no such thing. If you're looking for a perfect launch, it's there's no such thing. Like every time you launch, there's going to be something breaks, something goes wrong, you get sick. There's going to be something that stops you from doing this other thing that you were planning on doing. And I think that because we show up and we share those real life examples, those real life tools that we use, the real life craziness that happens, that I think those stories are a powerful reminder and a powerful message for everyone else out there because we are human. Again, going back to we are human. And I think these real stories are greater even than any perfect advice that we could ever give.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, everybody loves the headlines of, six-figure launch, this is great. This is, make money while you sleep. And i- for when that doesn't happen, you automatically are like, I'm such a failure. Why isn't this working? Everybody says it's so easy. So I think it's important to have some of those, like you said, the real statistics, the real data of, vast majority of people they have double digit sales, not six-figure sales. So,
Right? And like people are like, oh, I sold 30 patterns. That's not a very good launch. Like, well, hold up. This is like your second pattern? How
mm,
many did you sell before? Two? And you sold
mm,
30 on the second launch? Like, that's amazing. That should be
right.
celebrated. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Like things
Yeah.
like that. And then the last thing I have on my list is being recognized has been really strange. Like, Andi got called out when she was talking, and she's like, "Hey, are you on Quilting on" oh, you probably tell that better. But, yeah, we got our shirts on right now. It's just asking about my favorite podcast.
Yeah.
And being recognized at, like, H&H was a big and then, at a was a big industry event that I got recognized at, and QuiltCon I got recognized at. I haven't been, like, recognized on the street yet. They were, like, industry events, but it's
Yeah.
still I said yet, like it's going to happen. Like, someone's
Yeah.
gonna randomly know who I am on the street. But it's been strange but exhilarating. It makes me feel like we really are making an impact because I know that we are talking to you probably in your car while you're sewing, things like that, and it
Mhm.
feels like we're having a back and forth conversation. At least that's how I feel when I listen to podcasts. But when me and Andy sit here and talk to each other, it feels like we're just talking to each other. We don't we don't get a lot of give and take when it comes to a podcast. It's more of a one-way street, and then we try to connect with you in other places. So we try to see you on Instagram, we try to see you in Patreon, which has been amazing, which I
Mhm.
think should be another positive we throw out there. So our Patreon community has been so much fun. Like we just had, as we're recording this, we just had a live Q&A last night, and we got a couple quilters together, and we're just talking through we're commiserating a little bit together because it was a rough week. We were talking about moving forward and sharing advice, sharing like one of our quilters is going to go to Houston, the big quilt show, and I'm like, I'm still a little confused on Houston because I've never been. So I asked her to kind of clarify what is the difference between like the festival and market? Because I thought it was the same thing. And it kind of is. It's just market is first, the first
Um,
week, right? And then it's the festival of quilts like directly after. So it's like a 2-week event. And that was something I didn't realize. So like things like that where we're bringing these quilters together, I think is a huge positive. And we've been doing it inside Patreon and that has been the most successful part, I think, of building the community that we had in mind at the start of this.
right, right. Yeah, and it just, it growth takes time. It's a process, and so it has been wonderful to see that community develop and just making those connections and developing those friendships with the people that come into the community. And yeah, so um if you haven't joined Patreon yet, you're definitely missing out. So we'll just throw that out there for folks to join us in that area. So yeah, there's been so many positives, but we always keep it real and we talk about some of the struggles too. And I will say that as much as I love talking and will just dive in to share my thoughts on anything, one of the difficulties that I have faced is making promotions sound natural and working through that standard introduction and things. So it's definitely a learning curve, and we hopefully have improved over these 75 episodes. And we're not too abrupt in some of our transitions to things, but yeah, we have had a learning curve on that. So what are some of the struggles and things that you've seen?
Yeah, along those lines, being able to afford the podcast,
Mhm.
monetization has been a struggle, which we've gotten to the point where the podcast is paying for itself, and that is okay. That is great from where we are right now, and I'm really happy with that. But when we first started, we did the whole thing. We did like the website, we did the email list, we did everything we could to get the word out, and it felt and looked more successful than it was. And I
Yeah,
think, again, keeping it real,
yeah.
we cut the website. We moved
Mhm.
everything to Patreon, because that's where we could connect with our community. And that's why we've been talking about Patreon since we started it, because it's been, and I don't think Patreon would be great for everything, but for our podcast specifically, it's been amazing. And just cutting out all of the showy, it didn't feel showy when we started it, but
Mhm.
now it feels like it was more of a business card, the website was, and we were paying too much for this business card. Whereas we were trying to use the website as more of a community builder, and it wasn't working that way. So we cut that, and then we were able to not have to pay for that anymore, which was great. And then we focused on software, and of course we have to pay for Buzzsprout, which is our host who hosts the podcast and sends it out to all the platforms. So those are our main two we call it expenses right now. So monetization helps us afford those two expenses right
Mhm.
now. And that's where you're talking about promotion. It's like just
Yeah.
sharing what we're doing. If you're interested and want to purchase it too, it's great. If you join our Patreon, there's a free version and a low paid and a more paid.
Mhm.
And that has been going to help us pay for this podcast. And that has been amazing. But
Right.
the in the intros, like you mentioned the intros. Oh my gosh, the intros are so funny. We record those. We re-recorded those what, like 3 times every time we've done
Yeah,
it. And
2
like
or
I
3
still squeak
times.
and the one that we use now. I
Yeah.
squeak. Did you every time I hear it, I'm like, why am I squeaking?
Yeah.
'Cause it was like when I talk about quilt binding, I was like, "Damn," like
Done is definitely better than perfect on a lot of these
yes.
things. And with the, kind of the whole monetization, website editing concerns, we did pay for an outside editor for a couple seasons. And as wonderful as that is to not have that stress and just let someone else take care of it, it was a huge expense. And, we it didn't survive the harsh light of day when we looked at the bottom line and said, "You know what? To keep this affordable, we're gonna have to, scale back and take on some of those responsibilities again." Um, so, and I'm sure there are ways to make the editing more affordable. You hear about cheaper, the lower cost, I'm not gonna use the cheap word, but the lower cost options on Upwork and things. Um, so you can make things affordable, and hiring VAs. There are lots of networks for that. So, hopefully we'll grow a bit and it can bring that back on. But it's been fun to see your pivot, Tori, in your business life, to be able to free you up to work on the podcast with that. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's been a great partnership. Anything else you want to mention on the struggle side of running things?
Um, energy-wise, so I know that when we first started this podcast, we were adamant that we were not gonna be having podcasts every single week forever because
Mhm.
we knew our bandwidth was not gonna be there, and I love the fact that we did that because we have seasons. So me and Andy really work hard during the recording parts so that we can get these seasons out for you, but we've done it in a way that protects our time, it protects our energy, and so that even if we are going through a tough time or like this past month, I was sick for most of the month. And knowing that, I was able to be like, okay, I just need to scale back for a bit so I can heal. And then we can or not heal, but like get better.
Yeah,
And then we can keep going. But the seasons, the way that we had and I guess it's not that might be more of a celebration than a
mhm.
struggle, but I feel like sometimes I'm struggling to show up, but keeping in mind that we have those seasons, it really helps knowing that there's a break coming.
For
And then if
sure,
anyone's listening
yeah, and
that wants to do the podcast,
obviously
so
we
yeah.
drew on our, teaching experience for this idea of, seasons matching the school year kind of thing, but it really does allow us to have that strength of perseverance because we take those breaks and we come back, and it's okay to show up again and have your season of rest and then show up and perform and rest and perform and rest. And that's just been a really healthy thing for us to do. And I hope it carries on for another 75 episodes.
Yes, we do. So there's a couple more things that we wanna talk about when it comes to maybe more of the background, more of the structure and, like, literal things or, like, maybe more helpful things that we learned if you are interested in creating your own podcast. I definitely bring in those seasons idea, I would say, too. But, Andy, what kind of things have you noticed that we have established that helped, the practicality of having a podcast like this?
Yeah, I really appreciate your structure and your behind the scenes clarity, I guess, because it's a lot of times I feel like the big idea person. I'm like, "Hey, let's do this podcast." And you're like, "Okay, so make the list and we're going to do this and this and this and here's the division of labor and we're just that really helps. Obviously, the structure has helped us show up for 5 seasons, and the nitty-gritty of that is the our shared Google Drive, and that helps so much because we are in different time zones and we don't have, our schedules are off sometimes, and being able to just go to those shared documents and check, we made a spreadsheet and we check boxes that say, the thumbnail is done, the edits are done, and it just helps give us a central place to keep things coordinated. So that, I have to say, is been a big help for this. So what kind of structure things have helped you persevere over these 75 episodes?
Yeah, I live and breathe that podcast tracker that we created. Like Andy said, it's a big checklist that allows us to keep track of what each other's doing. Love that. The other thing, since I took over more of the editing of the podcast, I created what did I call it? A marketing plan, but I wrote everything out. So I literally have a Google Doc with 2 columns. One is a giant checklist of this is what I do. We record, check. Then I have to do the edits. I have to push this button to make sure I do the magic audio, which with our software, again, we're using Riverside, and it has helped so much with the editing part because it does have AI in there. So it does help get rid of some of those little pauses, the little awkward, like when we stop and we look at our notes type things. And it balances out the noise in the background. So like I have a fan going always for some reason, even though there's no fan around me. But the magic audio typically takes all of it out, which is amazing. So I get all of that's written out. And then I also have written out, post it on Patreon, post it on Instagram. It goes into Buzzsprout. And then next to it, that second column is how I list it in Buzzsprout. Because we're the ones that have to put in the summary, the chapters, the takeaways, the guest links, and our other links, and anything else you want to put in there. You're literally writing it all out, and then I have to put in the transcript. So I've got all of it written out in this giant checklist, so I can go through and I do this every Monday. I call it my marketing. Well, I call it my money and marketing Monday. It's all M's. So I do my bookkeeping first because I hate doing it.
Yeah.
So when I'm done with that, I get to go market, which is fun for me. So I go in and I pull up the podcast is usually one of the first things, unless I'm launching something. But then I go through that checklist and I'm like, okay, what am I still missing? Because sometimes I'll work through a few hours on Monday and then I'll have to come back to it. But I have it all written out, so it's so much easier to keep track of what I'm doing. I also added an off-season section. So when we're on season, this is what it looks like. When we're off season, this is what it looks like. And I even have one where it says, if I have the bandwidth, then I can do this. Because in our off season, that's when I plan to re-record stuff. That's when I plan to like when I wrote my book, that's when I was writing was during our off season, like things like that, where I'm using that time for other things, like building systems in the background of my other business and or not other business, but my business, and it's like that kind of stuff. So that has been amazing to give myself that structure and give myself that document. Because even if I remember all of it off the top of my head, there are days when I wake up and my brain's not working. It's like a brain fog day. And I'm just like, what did I need to do today? And like, oh, I didn't finish the podcast stuff and I have an extra 2 hours. Maybe I need to do something there. And then I sit there on my phone and I scroll. Instead, I have that sheet. I can go through it and be like, all right, what am I missing? Let's go fix this. And
Yeah.
it's just made it so much easier. And you'll notice I've been forgetting Instagram less because I made that. Because I've
Yeah.
used to before just kind of like let Instagram go because we needed to get more important things out than Instagram posts. But now I'm much more consistent because, again, I have that document and that time set aside.
Yeah, for sure. And just it like we're always transparent about how we're setting this up, and we have weekly meetups. And we carry them through our off seasons. That's our planning time, and having that accountability has really helped with the podcast, obviously, but then the other branches of our business, because we can use some of those sessions as sounding boards. And hey, I'm struggling with how to craft this offer, and Tori can coach me through that. And, just talking about our wins and our struggles, and with someone who gets it. So that's been a really big positive for this whole experience.
And I don't get me wrong, I give stuff to Anna too. I'm like, "Hey, I had this idea for a thing. What do you think about this?" And then she'll give me feedback. So it's also a give and a take where I get to talk to my ideal customer and she gets to talk
Mm.
to a friend and a business friend, like, or a business, coaching, because that's what
Yeah.
I do. And I've, like, defaulted to coaching now. Like, when people start talking to me, I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, let's figure this problem out." I have to, like, take a step back and be like, "Hold on, Tori, she's just venting." Like,
Yep,
it's
yep.
like one
Sometimes
of
you
those
do
things
have
where
to ask that question. It's like, "What hat do you want me to wear when I respond? Am I just your friendly shoulder, or am I a advice-giving persona?" So, yeah, that's
right?
been great. But, one of the interesting things that I have heard lately about podcasts is that you can be in the top 25% of all podcasts that have been published after 10 episodes. And that just is it makes me wanna give you a huge high five that, look at us, when the average person doesn't even get to 10 episodes, and here we are at 75. It's been amazing. So, what other little interesting things about podcasting have you learned?
Um, Prep goes a long way. I used to Not gonna lie, I used to be not afraid, I shouldn't say afraid, but, like, hesitant to even start prepping because I feel like when I show up live, I ask better questions. I don't sound as, planned, but I've learned, especially in the last, season 4 and now in season 5, just taking 30 minutes to sit down and write a few things out, like bullet point it, and just visualize and look up our guests if we have a guest and just because I used to look up guests, like, don't get me wrong, I did look them up, but I didn't, like, do it not on purpose, but with intentionality, and
Mhm,
now I'm like, "Okay, if I just spend 30 minutes prepping," usually I can get my prep done in, like, 10 minutes, and it
mhm.
frees me up, but it gives me, the mental, like, "You got 30 minutes to get this ready, and you're gonna show up more prepared, you're gonna show up more relaxed," and I've been holding to that more
Mhm.
rather than trying to show up live. Because I do this thing where I'll practice because I talk to I work by myself, I'm in here. So I'll start practicing while I'm looking up these our guests and stuff and are looking at our topics that we wanna to do, and then I feel like I use up all my good words. I'm like, "Practice," and then when I get here, I'm like, I stumble over my words, I don't really know what I'm talking about, I sound like I am, like, I don't know, asleep because I feel like I've used up all my good words earlier. So that was what stopped me from, like, prepping, which is weird. I know it's kind of weird, but I will say taking the time to prep anyway has really allowed me to show up more fully, more relaxed. Is there
Yeah,
anything else that you've learned?
I just the when you talked about using up your good words in practice, I have never been one that scripts out my any of my episodes or my, YouTube videos or anything, but I do like having a list of, these are the main ideas, and I really wanna cover these points, and, uh, it it is helpful to have that starting point so you're not just because it's quilting, we can talk about quilting at any time and we can go on for hours. So you wouldn't think you need some prep, but yeah, it does help to have those guidelines. And you have been a big proponent, and I'm a little bit behind, but I'm getting there with Chat GPT. So tell us
Yeah.
some interesting things about podcasting that Chat GPT helped you with.
So I use ChatGPT sometimes to help with summaries, to help with emails, writing some of our posts, especially like I said, when those brain fog days hit. So it's been kind of tracking. I have one folder dedicated to the podcast, so it has our history in it. So I could do things like ask it, not them, because I imagine ChatGPT is like this giant audience of just sources sometimes. So I call it them. But so ask ChatGPT what 10 lessons how did I phrase it? It was like, looking at our history, what what are some key lessons that we've learned and maybe we've spoken about that I hadn't noticed, I wouldn't notice, in the last recording 75 episodes. And it came up with actually some that we've already shared, which I thought was really cool. I was like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, I also thought that too." But there were some really cool ones that I probably would not have picked out without this analyzing this the way it analyzes. And so it said this one, I really like this one, where it said, side hustling quilters are hungry for permission. It says your audience often needs to hear that it's okay to start small, to build slowly, and to make or take imperfect action. And the podcast has become a permission slip to pursue their business dreams in the margins of their real life. I really
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah,
And I
for
think that's
sure.
something that we hoped would help. And some of the guests that we bring in, especially we had we had Tasha come in, who was fairly new to business,
Mhm.
and just having her on and learning about how she started and things like that. I think that was one powerful episode that kind of speaks to that, where it's okay to do it, in the side and on the side and imperfectly and jump in if you're not really quite sure what to do. Get in and learn. It's a little bit messy, but it's the best way to learn and to move
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, exactly. Experience teaches you so much, taking action. It's yes, we're all learning as we go. Some people put a better per facade on, I guess,
Yeah.
they can hide their imperfections better, but I'm always the one that goofs up on camera, and I just leave it in. don't I don't do a lot of things over again to get it right. I just it's God, you know, as they say in quilting, if you can't see it on a galloping horse as you ride by, then it's okay. So I do take that
It's
to
okay.
heart. But yeah, that's been good. Any other tidbits from your Chat GPT summaries?
There's a few more that I really liked. One, I really like this. I felt like it made me feel proud of our podcast and proud of our audience, where it says, on the side is a badge of honor, not a limitation. So the phrase on the side isn't about being less serious, it's about being resourceful, resilient, and rooted in purpose. Your audience relates deeply to building something meaningful in the pockets of time they have. I just love that.
Yay! Oh, yes, yes, that really does, capture why we're here to, like I said earlier, to be the cheerleader for people that, yes, you can do this and you can fit it into your real life. And yeah, just being able to inspire those new designers, those new entrepreneurs. It's been really, really wonderful.
Let's see, the last one here was community is greater than the algorithms, which it noted like our most loyal listeners often come from genuine interactions like newsletter replies, Patreon shout outs, Patreon live Q&As, guests who share their episodes, and building relationships, not just chasing downloads, has proven to be the best growth strategy. Where me and Andy have always put community first. We are very niche in a niche. I like we're a niche in a niche, like we're niche in a niche niche. Like we are very very niche. And we wanted to grow this for people like us. And I think that speaks highly of what we built here is seeing that community over algorithms, because that is our main purpose, is to build that community, have a space where we could talk shop and help others learn from our mistakes and from our successes and from other people. And I think that I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to highlight some of those people that we have been able to develop relationships with. Um, Tasha, you mentioned, has become a good friend. Um, Amanda, Debbie, Cindy, all these people. And even I'm remembering our audacious luncheon at QuiltCon and we had ladies, quilters show up that had changed their plans because they wanted to be with us in person, and that just touched my heart. It makes me so emotional that we are making those connections. We are building a community that people are finding value in, and I am just so thankful, Tori, that you came along with this crazy idea and that just started because I thought quilting on the side would be just the perfect embodiment of our business life, and
Yeah.
it's been great to have 75 episodes. So cheers and thanks, and yeah, we'll see you in the next dozens of episodes.
That's a wrap on today's conversation. We hope it gave you something real to take back to your business.
And if you liked this episode, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. It helps more quilters find the show and feel a little less alone on their entrepreneurial journey.
And if you want more support, from behind the scenes content to live chats, you'll find more in our Quilting on the Side community on Patreon. And as always, don't forget to do
A little
quilting
on the side.